What happens when a weakened lion collapses into sun scorched stone and no one wants to help? The rescue seemed impossible until something happened that silenced even the skeptics. The air in the canyon was still, unnaturally so. Late afternoon, light clung to the edges of fractured stone, casting long, blurred shadows across the valley floor. There was no breeze, no movement, only the low hum of heat rising from the ground. The scent of dry minerals and singed dust hung thick in the air, baking into the skin like smoke without fire. At the base of two leaning slabs of sandstone, a lion lay pinned. His front paw had slipped deep between the rocks, now trapped in a narrow, burning crevice. The rest of his massive body pressed low to the scorched ground, motionless except for his chest, which heaved in short, shallow bursts. His eyes were half closed, not from rest, but exhaustion. His mane, dark and tangled, twitched with each labored breath. Earlier that morning, the lion had limped into this canyon, already injured, possibly from a fall or a fight. Desperate for shade, he had stepped toward a narrow gap between the stones. One wrong shift, and his paw sank into the crack. When he tried to pull back, the rock held. He roared, once, low and raw, but there was no one to hear him. The ground beneath him now pulsed with heat. Every few seconds, his muscles twitched. Reflex, not resistance. He no longer fought to free himself. The heat was doing what time could not, draining his strength. Far above the canyon, a park ranger named Selena spotted movement through binoculars. At first, it looked like a shadow, or maybe a large bird, but when the image sharpened, she saw the lion, motionless, alone, his body too exposed, too still. She radioed base, nothing. The signal had been weak for days. She tried again. Static. Selena marked the coordinates and began the descent. The rocks under her boots crumbled with each step, releasing dry flakes into the windless heat. As she approached, the smell changed, raw animal scent mixed with hot stone and something faintly metallic. She saw him clearly now, the way his body trembled, the way his eyes tracked her, briefly before closing again. He did not growl. He did not move. Selena paused behind a boulder, gauging the risk. One wrong move and he could react on instinct. But he looked past that point, his breath uneven, the trapped paw swelling around the stone like it no longer belonged to him. She crept closer, her tools ready. A wedge, a thermal cloth, water. She tossed the flask gently near him. It rolled across the stone. The lion flinched, barely. No growl, no retreat, just a slow turn of his head and stillness. Selena examined the crevice. The stone had pinched around the leg just below the joint. If he pulled again, the damage could be permanent, or worse. She set the wedge and tapped it. The rock shifted, slightly. Behind her, someone called out. Back away. She turned. A man had appeared at the edge of the canyon. Not a ranger, civilian, watching. He's too far gone, the man said flatly. You'll just get yourself hurt. Selena didn't answer. Her focus stayed on the lion, his ribs rising and falling, slower now. She drove the wedge deeper. The crack opened a fraction. The lion's ear twitched. His shoulder rolled. He pushed. And just then, something changed. But what happened next to this lion was even more unexpected. You won't want to miss what unfolds just moments later. The stone finally gave way. Not much, just enough for the paw to shift. The lion jerked his shoulder, muscles tightening one last time, and tore his leg free from the crack. He stumbled back with a dull thud, collapsing on his side. Dust lifted around him, hanging in the still air like smoke. His chest rose sharply, then paused, then rose again. His front leg curled underneath him, trembling. The pad was blistered, burned raw from hours in contact with the overheated rock. Selena dropped the wedge and rushed forward. The lion did not move. His eyes were open, unfocused, but tracking. His breath came in short bursts now, dry, shallow, fragile. She slid the thermal cloth under his side and poured cool water along the joint. The skin hissed quietly, releasing steam. He blinked once, but did not resist. She kept her movement slow, calm. The last thing he needed now was panic. He had been pinned for hours, maybe longer. The damage to the paw was bad, but the bigger threat was heat exhaustion. His body had absorbed too much. Selena tried the radio again. This time, someone answered. Unit 3, report. She spoke quickly, giving coordinates, injuries, estimated weight. Transport team en route, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. In this heat, it was too long. She looked at him, at the way his mouth opened slightly between breaths, his tongue dry, cracked. His mane was dark with sweat and dust. His body, once so powerful, looked strangely small against the vast sunlit stone. She shaded him with her own tarp, anchoring it between rocks to give him cover. Then she poured the last of her water into a shallow plastic lid and placed it near his mouth. He did not drink, but he looked at it. That was enough. The team arrived faster than expected. The sound of their engine broke the silence like a sudden gust of wind. Tires cracked over loose rock as the vehicle pulled in close. They moved quickly. A collapsible stretcher, IV fluid packs, a controlled dose of tranquilizer. Selena stood back now, watching as they worked. The lion lifted his head once, weakly, then let it drop. His breathing had stabilized slightly, enough to move him. The dart entered his flank with a soft snap. Within seconds, his body relaxed, still breathing, but limp. The team slid the stretcher beneath him, strapping him carefully to avoid pressure on the paw. He was heavy. It took all four to lift him smoothly into the vehicle. No one spoke. The heat had quieted even the rescuers. Before they closed the hatch, Selena stepped forward. She knelt beside the stretcher, close enough to see the faint movement of his ribs. His eyes flickered open one last time, just for a second. Then they shut again. 2 days later, at the park's emergency shelter, the lion stood on three legs beside a shaded enclosure. His injured paw was bandaged, but the swelling had gone down. He walked slowly, cautiously, but he walked. Veterinarians monitored him from a distance, noting every movement. He had refused food the first day. Now he ate, not much, but enough. Selena watched from behind the fence, arms folded. She did not approach. Her presence did not matter anymore. He had come through the worst. The rest was his to carry. Later that evening, she reviewed the footage. Her body ached from sun exposure and the strain of the canyon climb, but her eyes stayed on the screen, on him, on the moment he broke free, on the way he breathed when it was finally over. There was no celebration, no applause, just a quiet relief of life holding on. This was not just survival, it was a moment of quiet defiance against heat, pain, and the slow silence of being left behind. The wild never asks for help, but sometimes it accepts it, and that changes everything.